Trying to find a next spot for a show or event? Look no further. You know them. You love them. Stutterbox Productions is here to help. They always have an excellent team that is always busy and in motion behind the scenes in the Midwest, and they have plenty of shows lined up. So what are you waiting for? Head over to Stutterbox Productions' Facebook page for all of your needs today. Guys, what's up? This is the McCousters Podcast. I'm your host, Coleman. Another super solo episode today. Quote of the day: nobody's reliable. No, I'm kidding. No, we had I know I promised a guest last week. We had two people that were slated to come on. One of them was today, and I have not heard from him since Friday. So I'm kind of just guessing that we should just stick to a solo episode instead of trying to cram one in last minute. So yeah, I apologize for that. For those who I know there are probably a lot of people, it's kind of weird. There are probably a lot of people who really like when I have the guests on and really, do that whole thing. But maybe there are people who like it when I ramble for 30 to 45 minutes. And if you like that, well, then you're in for a treat. And if you don't like that, well, then sorry. But next episode is going to be episode 200. I absolutely promise that we will have a guest for that. If I don't, episode 200 will just be me blowing my brains out live on YouTube. So either way, episode 200, you have something fun to look forward to. So anyways, basically the thing that I wanted to, not even really wanted to, but I was thinking something to talk about. And yesterday I was just kind of in a mood. I was just kind of in a weird mood. I've been reading this book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is a book that my dad read when he was a young wee lad. So that kind of shows me the kind of time period I'm been reading in. But yeah, I don't know. I've just been I found myself kind of just trying to. I find it to be like a somewhat healthy way of escape from reality, right? Like, just being so discontent with whatever's going on in the current state of the world and just being like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to pick up a book about a time period from 50 years ago, 70 years ago, whatever, and just live in that. It's something I've been I haven't had that since I was a kid. Since I was an early teenager. So it's been really cool to do that. But anyways, this book has just been making me, it's a very big thinking book. It's a lot of internal dialogue. One of the metaphors that I really like that he used is, so he classifies people into classical and romantical people. And I'm probably fucking this up here. I'm actually going to look it up. But the classical person, from what I understand, is the one that is going to be more going to be more logical, etc. And then the romantic's going to be more of an emotional type of person. Okay, my internet isn't loading. But so these are the two type of people that he talks about. Basically, the analogy was that you take two different piles of sand. The classical thinking person is going to look at the sand and take apart every little tiny rock, categorize every rock into shapes, sizes, colors, etc. And then the romantic person is just going to see a pile of sand. I just thought it was kind of just the way that he lays out the different mentalities of people, the different types of people that there are, their values, etc. I think it's really interesting. So anyways, reading this book, I think is kind of just, it's put me in a place that's reflective, etc. Okay, so leading up to yesterday. So yesterday I decided to something that I've had Jason Bonnell, who is the spokesperson for the Iowa Atheist Freethinkers Association. And I had him on the podcast. I don't remember what number it is. I highly recommend checking that out. Really interesting episode. Really interesting guy. I hope to have him on again. But we kind of talked about one of the things that we talked about in that episode, which is a glaring issue that I find in a lot of atheists, is this political blind spot that they possess. For example, and I've posted this a couple different times in some atheist type of pages, and I don't know. I guess let me start from the beginning. So this initial post. So this is not the initial post, but so I posted about this first time. I think I just posted it at a bad time, so I didn't get a lot of responses. So I did it a second time. The post is this: let's be real, and this page is atheism versus religion. I would recommend it, but it's kind of biased, which I'm gonna get into in a little bit. But let's be real. This page is a lot of low hanging fruit. But can my fellow atheists see how, when it comes to more moral and political based questions, that there's a glaring blind spot? For example, the church is homophobic, and people go to church are mostly politically affiliated in a certain way. So then we're going to vote the other way every time, no matter what. So essentially, you're replacing the role of God with government. And it could be argued that this is almost a worse situation. I don't even mean for this to get political, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that was just I just kind of want to know everybody's thoughts of that. And it came with minimal response. Minimal response that when I prodded, when I tried to ask questions, they just kind of ignored. And I mean, that's just kind of the shitty, and this is a Facebook post, so I mean, go figure, right? That's kind of the shitty thing about Facebook is you can put out the prompt that you're a badass, right? You can be like, oh, I'm gonna have this edgy post, and then someone comments, and then you never have to respond. And I guess I do the same thing too. I do the same thing on social media, so fine, it makes sense. But I think if you're posting in a group, and the whole point, and that's the whole, I guess this is kind of the crux of the idea, right? Is I find it very sad that these atheists are not willing to have a conversation about this subject. And it's getting to the point, and I made this criticism before, it's getting to the point where atheism is becoming a theism in a way. There's gatekeeping, there's, hey, we're not going to talk about these 3 things because we just don't want to think about it. They'll be frothing at the mouth to tear apart somebody who's religious. But if a fellow atheist is like, hey, what's this thing that we got going on here? Is there a way we can discuss this, maybe, improve our own ideologies, maybe improve ourselves as people? They turn the other way. Which is funny because that is what religious people are criticized for doing all the time, which I still believe is the case, but it's, for the most part, but it's sad. It's just sad to see a group of people who are supposedly free thinkers, deliberately doing the opposite. And I gotta call you out, man. I gotta call out my fellow atheists who are fucking doing that shit. Have that conversation. I think there's a point where, if you were to go into the entire state of Iowa, right, and spend your entire life talking to every single person about God, you would get literally nowhere, right? And to be fair, I think that's where a lot of atheist mentality comes in, where they just don't want to involve themselves in that conversation. But so, I mean, that makes sense, but that just in my mind, it's okay, so then if you have something that's refreshing, if you have a refreshing idea, hey, here's a fellow atheist that's maybe kind of wondering about, hey, is what we're doing here, collectively as people, as our ideology, is this something that is beneficial, or is to people as a whole? Because that's the thing. I mean, whether you're an atheist or a religious person, the common theme between those two ideas is truth. I mean, both groups of those people are trying to find truth. They have vastly different opinions on how that truth is and what happens with that truth. But it matters, right? It's not like it's not like one group's not trying to find truth, right? I mean, I'm sure there are people in those groups that do, but collectively as a whole, the reason people, God damn it, did I wake her up? The reason these people align with that is because God damn it, I totally I'm doing this early in the morning. I'm trying not to wake Molly up. maybe it wasn't good to talk about religion at 8 a.m. I guess that's kind of my 2 cents about that. That whole, it's just sad. Yeah, and I did a poll on Instagram. I was just kind of curious. The listeners, the followers of at least the Instagram page, how they felt about the subject, and it was pretty even, actually. It was pretty. Religion did gain the majority, as it usually does, but like a surprising amount of atheists. So that's heartening, but at the same time, I hope those people kind of think about that, think about the political blind spot. And I guess to segue into the point with the political blind spot, and this is kind of made me, this whole conflict has kind of been making me think about this too. Like, and I want to say, like, I'm not like about to like jump on the God train. Like, I don't believe in God. There's a very, very practical reason why I don't believe in God. I've had psychedelic experiences. I've had experiences where I've come out, I've shot out of my body and seen the world, the surrounding area that I was in floating in the sky. And I came away from that thinking that, nope, there's no, like, that was just hallucination. I have never had anything resembling a spiritual experience. And I don't think that will happen ever. I've never felt that in my body. I've wanted to. There's been times where I've wanted to, and I grew up Catholic and I really wanted to believe in God, but I just don't. But anyways, not to get really, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, guys. So anyways, I'm bombing. But anyway, so this conflict that's going on right now, with Israel-Palestine, I think it's kind of interesting to see this whole, here, let me take a sip of my coffee. It's kind of interesting to see this whole thing play out, right? Because, I was reading God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens. And I never actually finished it because I found myself kind of just not, because when he got political, I got really turned off. Very sympathetic with socialism. And one of the things that he talks about is with 9/11 and how 9/11 was like, he and a lot of atheists like to cast 9/11 as a religious attack. And that's partially true. However, I think it's, fair to say that the main reason why they attacked is because the U.S. government was fucking around the Middle East for, like a decade or whatever before that. And then they retaliated. And I think not 20 years later, because this has been happening the whole fucking time, right? But 20 years later, it's kind of that same narrative, right? Like the atheistic, synopsis of what's going on is, oh, there's a religious group that's mad at a religious group, and religious people are just doing their religious shit, and that it is true to an extent, right? Like I see the truth in that. But again, what's really happening with Israel-Palestine? This episode, go check out Unhinged, Uncensored. It's about to drop tomorrow at 2 p.m. That'd be way more. I'm going to save my rant on that whole topic specifically for that episode. But, look, if you look at plain and simple, what it really is it's governments coming in and saying, hey, you get this land. And people getting mad about that. People, reacting to what the government has done to the people. It is not as black and white as, oh, hey, Muslims hate Jews. It's not that simple. So that has been kind of something that's really kind of shaped my worldview on that. Like, I really, like, especially like with that conflict specifically, the Israel-Palestine conflict, like, I feel like I would have been the person that would have just said, yeah, it's just some religious bullshit. Like, fuck, even like 3-4 years ago, right? Like, if this was happening, like, if you would give me a microphone then and say, like, what's the reason why Israel and Palestine are having conflict, I would have said it's because of that religious bullshit, right? The Promised Land and all that. And again, that's partially true. That's the underlying thing of it. But I think the thing that, here's the main thing that I think atheists grapple with when you're talking about this whole thing, this whole process. There's the initiator, right? There's the initiating idea, and then there's the vessel. So you have a group of Christians, right? And I used this example earlier, but it's a perfect example. The church doesn't like gays. They don't like gay people. And this is, now that's not the case, but thinking 20, 30 years ago, whatever, right? Church doesn't like gay people. So, well, not that's not the case, but a lot of places not the case. But modern times. But like 20 years ago, so people are against gay people in religion. So what do? They the churches, they tell people to go vote for blah 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 blah, and then blah blah blah. That person makes sure to sign these bills so that gay people get married. Now, I mean, that's I think the whole like marriage argument, there's something to be said for that. Like why why the fuck does it matter, right? But I mean, that there are plenty of people who felt hurt from that, right? So it's valid. But so okay, so I guess here's the point. Atheists will look at that and they will say, okay, the issue is the religious person. And I just don't agree. I mean, yes, I agree in a sense, but that's a losing battle. Like, okay, atheist, doesn't it make more sense? Doesn't it make more sense if these religious people are using this vessel to carry out what you believe is morally wrong? Doesn't it make sense to attack the vessel? Like, this is why it saddens me, the state of the atheist community these days. The state of so-called freethinkers is they don't want to actually think about what's happening in modern society. They want to play this game of charades with these religious people. They want to take this low-hanging fruit, these stupid religious people that go on Facebook and just post the most retarded crap. And then, yeah, of course you're going to be able to fucking annihilate them. But then if you have something that's actually intelligent, shit, even something there could be something that's intelligent from a religious community, right? Like we've had Basia Fia on. I don't agree with a lot of things he's recently said, but he did come in and say a lot of the talk about the religious history and all that. Very smart guy. He's wrong, but he's a very smart guy, right? And I think to just say that that's not worth having a conversation, that's not free thinking. That's religion. That's religion or government or whatever. Like, you're playing into the whole thing that you're supposedly supposed to be against is the collective mentality, right? Like the whole point of atheism is to think. That's what science is, right? Science is constantly thinking of things, constantly thinking about, how things connect, and, questioning it, right? A probably even better example than a better example to show this is more of an example to show the hypocrisy, but during COVID, right? Like, how many atheistic people did you see that were like against COVID regulation? Practically none. I think I was me and Marco Battaglia, I think, the only two that know that were actually against that stuff. I think every other atheist I know was like, they were totally for that shit. They were totally for all the lockdowns, like whatever degree in the name of science. Which, I mean, Fauci literally said he is science. That's not science. That's religion. And that's the thing. Like, these people who are so-called freethinkers, they bought into that whole fucking thing. That's not free thinking. That is 110% religion. If you are just going to dogmatically align with the blue, align with the Democrats, or with the Republicans, whatever, if you're just going to dogmatically align with either of those, And you're going to still say, oh, I'm an atheist. I'm a free thinker. You're not. You're not a fucking free thinker. You're not. It matters. I just had a reply on a guy who's like, politics doesn't matter for atheism. For atheists. And it does fucking matter because this is all part of the whole thing. This goes back to the book I'm reading, right? Like everything is interconnected. Yeah, religion is a thing, but it is so intertwined with politics. It is so intertwined with a lot of the things that are currently happening. And if you're just going to intentionally ignore that and just say, oh, it doesn't matter to me because I'm just an atheist and I just call out people who believe in God. And fine, but you're not a fucking free thinker. Stop calling yourself a free thinker. You're fucking not. You're a dogmatic cunt. That's what you are. You're a fucking dogmatic cunt. It's sad. I'm angry at the world. I'm angry at the world. And, I'm angry at, we're not going to get to what I'm angry about, but yeah, so I guess when it comes to something like Israel-Palestine, I really hope people do some research. Don't just watch CNN or Facebook or TikTok. Like, please go read a couple articles. Go to Reuters or something. Go to Reuters or the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail isn't perfect, but it's okay. What was another one? Just look at, I think when we grow up in school, right, and we go through the education system, a lot of the reason why people still don't really explore other options, right, because they're indoctrinated, is because they're told, hey, we need to follow these you need to find credible sources. When you do your research paper, you got to find credible sources. And that's just gonna, and fine. I mean, I get there's some merit to that, but when you take it all the way, when you say that, oh, nothing is going to be factual or taken with any grain of salt unless it's credible, again, that's dogmatism. That's religion. I think that's the common word, right? Is dogmatism. Dogmatism can happen anywhere. It can happen in religion. It can happen in government. It can happen in everyday life. There are just people who, for whatever reason, they're just comfortable, right? I'm gonna find that experiment right now. There's a famous experiment that they did. Where they took I don't know, group experiment where they I can't find it. They took a group of people, like a group of 100 people. I can't remember the name of the experiment, but they took this group and they were like, hey, 2 + 2 = 4. And does 2 + 2 = 4? And then they planted a group of 5 people in this crowd of 100 people to convince people that the answer was actually 5. And by the end of the experiment, almost everyone, I don't remember if almost everyone or everyone, unanimously said that 2 + 2 = 5. I think just something like that just shows the malleability of people and the how easily people can just fall in. Everybody, myself included, you listening right now, every single fucking motherfucker listening to this right now has fallen to some form of dogmatism. I've fallen to my own forms of dogmatism. This whole thing with Israel-Palestine has made me realize that, right? I had a dogmatic thought about this conflict, and now that I think some of that's maybe just being involved in libertarianism more, I don't know, but now I'm reanalyzing that. So reanalyze yourself. I think this is actually a perfect way to end this with a quote that I have here on my desktop because I'm a prude, Freethinkers are those who are willing to use their minds without prejudice and without fearing to understand things that clash with their own customs, privileges, or beliefs. This state of mind is not common, but is essential for right thinking. That's from Leo Tolstoy. Who I need to read. I need to read more. I'm reading more, guys. That's what I'm doing. I'm fucking reading more. Yeah. I found out yesterday my childhood dog is about to pass in probably a couple weeks. Her name is Snickers. And I named this dog. I remember we got her when I was about 8 or 10 or something like that, somewhere around there. And maybe 12, I don't know. But I came home and because I had been attacked by dogs previously, right? And I was worried. I was like, hey, I don't know if I should or not. I should, but I don't know how I feel about this, right? And so we're driving home. I came home and there's just this little tiny, 2-year-old dog, 25, God damn it, cat, 25-pound dog, just chilling there, right? Sweet as can be. My heart melted. And I actually ended up naming the dog. They were trying to name the dog after candy. And I just kind of, threw out what about Snicker bar? And they loved it. And they're like, oh, that's Snickers. So the dog's name is Snickers. Cat, get the fuck out of here. But yeah, so we got the unfortunate news that, we've known this for a while that she was getting old and all that, but we're about to put her down, but she lived a really long life, really good life. I think she was very healthy the whole time, which is great. And it's gonna be really sad. I might start drinking again. We'll see. No, hopefully not. So yeah, I don't know. This is just a really random filler episode. I apologize for those who I know. Like I said, I know a lot of people probably prefer the guests. But I gotta do what I gotta do, right? And life, right? We're busy. This, it's crazy. Even though I've dropped, even though I've started 2 new podcasts recently, it still feels like less work than when I was trying to find 2 guests a week. Because it wasn't as structured, right? Like I would have, like, you could have 2 people come in through a week and they both talk 2.5 hours and you're like, oh my God, I have to edit all this. I have to find clips out of all this. And now it's just like, I do an hour with a guest or with myself, and then I do another hour with Lolo, and I do another hour with Molly, and it's just like that. I plug into AI, it does it, and boom. AI doesn't do the whole thing. The AI, what it does is it lays out the bricks. AI lays out the bricks and the timeline and everything, and then I just kind of finagle with it. So I'm not a complete fraud, guys. That's we need to learn from this. All right. Macau Stars every Monday at 7 p.m. We have website Macau Stars. God, I can't talk today. MacauStars.com. We also have Patreon. And go check out our 2 podcasts, which I mentioned, the Unfiltered, Uncensored, God, he's going to kill me. The Unhinged, Uncensored podcast, happening every 2 p.m. at Tuesday. If you want to hear more unfiltered, crazy, funny shit about it, it's, I'm not even gonna say it. Just go watch the tomorrow's episode on Unhinged Uncensored. God damn it, Unhinged Uncensored. I can't believe I'm still fucking that up. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. And then also go check out the Guts and Gore podcast every Thursday at 2 p.m. This week especially, we have one of my favorite fucking movies that we're doing of all time, so I'm really excited for that. Molly's hanging in there. She does not like that the podcast is doing as well as it is. So go subscribe and like it, and donate, and all that shit. All right, guys. Have a good night. Peace.